Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. There can be nothing more humiliating, I think, for a politician than to have the lies and falsehoods you so carefully crafted exposed. But alas, that is what's happening for John Swinney. He's had things, his lies and falsehoods are being quietly deleted from the official documents and records because, well, he didn't want to be highlighting the fact that he was lied and made falsehoods and was mistaken, was wrong. Now we know the SNP are a secretive bunch, so they're not going to actually go, oh look, he said this and made a mistake, we're going to highlight it. No, they're very quietly, under the counter, just deleting that line here, changing a word there, etc., etc. Now, Swinney is someone who will go on the warpath and attack if someone else says something wrong. But he really doesn't like it when he's the one who's having to have the record changed over the lies. And it's really embarrassing for him. In fact, it's rather humiliating because he hoped to get away with it. He hoped that, it was done so sneakily nobody would notice. But of course, with everything with these people, everyone pays really close attention because they just automatically assume everything they do and say is a lie. And so everything is, forensically examined. Of course, this secretive changing, these deletions, particularly about the income tax, have all come to light. And he doesn't have anywhere to go with it. He's been told that he owes Russell Findlay an apology because this was after he wrongly accused Findlay, of misleading Parliament. But they're all misleading Holyrood. They clashed back in the beginning October, and this was where Findlay was making the claim that Scotland was the highest taxed part of the United Kingdom, with those who earn more than 30,000 handing over more of their salary to the state than anyone else. Now, Nats have always bragged about this. They've always said, oh, well, yes, the majority of taxpayers, they say, pay less tax in Scotland than in England. But that's never been substantiated or proved. It's, in fact, I think the technical term is bollocks. The evidence from the HMRC suggests that the SNP is very wrong to say this. It said that in 23-24, there was around 1.52 million Scots above that year's £27,850 threshold. That was the threshold at that time for paying the increased tax, compared to only 1.4 below it. And in 2024, there were 1.57 million above the line and only 1.46 below it. So the fact is that more Scots pay more tax than less, completely obliterating Swinney's argument. And then he made the claim that Findlay had misled Parliament over the figures. Turns out, no, he hadn't. But now it's been revealed in the official records that they have been quietly and subtly edited various pages, various records, to change the claim that the majority of workers in Scotland pay less income tax than if they lived elsewhere in the UK, to a different claim which replaces the word workers with taxpayers. Because, of course, you've got people who don't work who pay tax. Pensioners, for example, or people who have investments and so forth. He also pointed to evidence that it was because of civil servants privately conceded. That's because workers' claim is also wrong. They can't get out of it. What they're doing is they're changing one wrong speak for another wrong speak, and in the hope that people just accept the second wrong speak as being right, but it isn't. Even that is wrong. They're basically trying to change the language so it appears that John Swinney isn't a liar. They're changing the words, they're changing the order of the words, they're probably trying and change the spelling of the words in the hope that we don't notice. Trouble is, we do notice because nobody believes a bloody word. Still, I bet he doesn't apologise to Findlay, even though he has been proven to be wrong and a liar. John Swinney, lying for Scotland for 18 years. Thanks a lot.